All right, 1 2 1 2. What's up? The place to be. How y'all doing out there? I am Frank Red, and I am so excited to join you in conversation tonight as we celebrate and look forward to what lies ahead for the Golden State Warriors. They took out the number 2 seed Houston Rockets in 7 games tonight in a fierce battle, but the Warriors did the things they needed to do, 103-89. And what can you say? It was so many great performances by many of the Warriors. We're going to get into what transpired. But at the top, hand clap for Buddy Hield. 33 points, 9 of 11 from three-point range. Definitely his moment in his 9-year career. This is it. This is what professional athletes dream about when they're kids, and when they finally get on stage, they hope that their aspirations can meet reality. Buddy Hield has had an up and down year, has done a lot of things that scratch his teammates' heads, his coaches' heads, and sure the fans. But give him credit. As the year has progressed, he has looked more and more comfortable in the Golden State Warrior uniform. And the reality is, a lot of people didn't think the Warriors were going to win this game. I was on another show a couple of days ago, and we had a panel, and they went around, they said, "Yo, Red, so what do you think?" And what I said was, I give the Warriors a 50-50 chance of winning this game if they do some things differently. And that starts and ends with Steve Kerr. And he made a lot of adjustments. And, you know, he can be frustrating, but there's a reason why he's won 4 championships as a player and maybe 4 as a coach and maybe 5 as a player, 5 or 7. I don't even know. But he went against his tendencies and did what I think he needed to do to put this team in a position to win. Now, I was banging the gavel down for Jonathan Kuminga to get in the game, right? And Steve Kerr heard the loud roars from the crowd. Maybe he looked inward, and he put Jonathan Kuminga in the game. Now, I want to talk basketball for a second, because a lot of people say, well, you put him in and he was terrible and you got him out. No. Jonathan Kuminga played 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Those 7 minutes that Jonathan Kuminga was on the floor were probably anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes that Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler was resting. That was the difference. I'm not saying Jonathan Kuminga is the reason why they won, but what I'm saying is he was on the court because you got to play your best players, if nothing else, to take up minutes. And he actually played pretty darn good defense. He was not out of position. He was moving his feet. He did a decent job for a guy who hasn't played in what seems like 3 years. So I give him a lot of credit because he was engaged. He wanted to help this team win. And I'm a big karma guy. You can't have 13, 14, 15 guys all pulling the rope, and then there's one guy who doesn't feel like he's a part of it. So just having Jonathan Kuminga engaged, notwithstanding what he did on the court, I think he did pretty good. But they were all together. And the Houston Rockets got within 3 points. And everybody was collectively saying, uh-oh, Houston's going to pull away. That didn't happen because they were connected. Quentin Post played 1 minute tonight. 1 minute, which is probably how many minutes he should have played. Why? Because this was not an offensive game. This was a defensive game. I knew it. Probably you knew it. Everybody knew it. Why? Because the Houston Rockets are a young, wild and woolly bunch of thoroughbreds. They're not a experienced half-court team. They're not. notwithstanding they don't shoot the damn ball very well. Unless Fred Van Vliet is on one. One of the adjustments that Steve Kerr made was, again, they emphasized their defense as opposed to a quarter and a half last game of blitzing Fred. They blitzed him the whole game. He got 2 3-pointers in the last 2 minutes of the game, but they turned his water off, which is what they needed to do. So, give the Warriors credit. Stephen Curry's never going to be afraid. Draymond's never going to be afraid. Jimmy Butler's never going to be afraid. Looney's never going to be afraid. So that veteran leadership is what won the game. And I give Steve Kerr a salute for not being stubborn, for doing what he needed to do to win this game. He gave most of the guys an opportunity. He gave Moses Moody a chance. Moses Moody played great defense, but he couldn't make a shot. This was a collective effort by the Warriors, and they walked Houston down. And we can get into what Houston needs to do next because they can't come back with that group. You know, they're going to go and try to get KD. Everybody knows that, as they should. But this is about the Warriors. This is about Draymond Green doing All-Star Weekend, sitting at a desk with Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith. I don't know if Barkley was there or not. I think maybe Reggie Miller was there. And Draymond goes, yeah, we winning the championship. And there was this collective, whoa! Like, is this guy nuts? His statement is becoming more and more less questionable. And it's kind of living in the reality range. I love it. And I'm somebody who watches the game pretty closely. It's about execution. That's what it's about. The teams that execute the best in the half court generally win. Particularly if you got the best limousine driver in the NBA in Stephen Curry. Because he's going to drive you home. He's going to make sure, you send your son and you send your beautiful daughter to the prom, right? You're a little apprehensive. You think the guy's pretty good or the girl or whomever she's with. You just wanted to get home safe. The Warriors ain't got nothing to worry about if Stephen Curry's driving the limousine. And he drove it tonight and broke the backs and the hearts of the Houston Rockets. Another adjustment that Kerr made was he looked at Ime Udoka. He said, damn, Ime's zone is working. Why can't I play a zone? And the Warriors played a hell of a zone. They really did. They realized they needed to get more sides in there, so they got Looney in there. Looney played his ass off. He dusted off any cobwebs that were there, and he went out there and he was a man-child in the first half. Driving to the basket, navigating the ball. And Kuminga probably would have played more, but Kerr didn't trust him against Houston's zone because he threw the ball away. I have no problem with that. He gave him a chance. He put him in the second half. So, if you like basketball, if you are a Warrior fan, you sat back and just watched a masterclass of a team being prepared, being ready to play, and then going out and executing the game plan and actually getting it done. And then you need some luck, right? Whomever had Buddy Hield scoring 33 points, shooting 9 for 11 from 3, you need to get on a bus, get in your car, get on a plane and go to Vegas, Cash Creek, wherever you gamble, if you gamble, buy your lotto ticket. The likelihood of that happening again, it's not likely. But it doesn't have to happen again. That's the beauty of it. All right, let's get it started and go out and talk to the great Vicky. Appreciate you. Vicky says, hi, Frank. This was Buddy's best game of his life. That was beautiful basketball. Draymond's defense was incredible. Steve coached a great game when it mattered. The Warriors came to play. Yes, they did. I'm gonna try to work this out. Desirio. Desirio? I'm sure it's a great name. Jonathan Kuminga had the worst plus minus in the Building Milwaukee roster. He should not play. What was his plus minus? Okay, I looked at it. And you know what? I'm gonna put you back up there because I don't know if it's your first time you're checking out the program, but we really focus on content here. All right? Jonathan Kuminga was a -4. That's it. He was a -4. Dude, you know how negligible a -4 is? So you're wrong. He's probably going to play again. He's a -4 in 7 minutes. That's not bad at all. Really isn't. Particularly when you consider that the game is based off two sides of the court, not just offense. Offensively, he looked unbalanced. He looked a little nervous. He looked out of sorts. I will give you that. But defensively, I thought he was fine. And for that reason, in and of itself, he should be on the court. Because guess what? That means that you're resting the starters. They play in 2 days. Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Stephen Curry, they can't play 40 plus minutes. Who are you going to play? You going to put Guy Santos in? Okay. I'd rather have Jonathan Kuminga. You going to put Quentin Post in when he's not making shots? Nah, I don't want that. I think you're wrong. Vicky says, every time the Warriors made a good play, the bench players jumped up and cheered, even though they weren't playing. Right, because they were together. They were a team. They were a team. And most of the guys on that team have background knowledge of winning. The only person on the Rockets, well, there were two. Jeff Green won a title with Denver. Fred VanVleet has won a title with Toronto. But that's it. That's it. Steven Adams has obviously played a lot of big games as a member of the OKC Thunder. But that championship medal matters. It really does. And it showed tonight. I put out a tweet, I think it was yesterday or earlier today. I don't remember. But I said that the Warriors needed to have fewer than 12 turnovers. They only had 7. When you only have, you know the winning percentage of teams that only have 7 turnovers in an entire NBA game against a great defensive team? It's probably around 80% or higher. I don't know what the stats are, but it's very high. The Warriors took care of the ball, and that was a big deal. Now, I said that they couldn't get out rebounded. It was yesterday when I put it out. I said that they could not get out rebounded by more than 7. They actually got out rebounded by 14. And that's kind of a tricky stat because Houston didn't make any shots. So they were missing a lot, and they probably had more offensive rebounds because they were missing shots. But they wasn't making those shots. So statistically, the Warriors put some really good numbers on the board. And as a result, they're moving on. I can't see them flying back to the Bay Area and then flying to Minnesota. That's another mental part of what this thing is all about. They had to pack for Minnesota, so they weren't thinking about coming back to the Bay Area. It's like, we're going to Minnesota. We're going to pack 3, 4, 5 days worth of stuff. And we're going to go to Houston and win this game and then go to Minnesota. Vicky says, now we will find out if Ant-Man is ready to go the distance. I don't think the Warriors are a great matchup for Minnesota. I think the Warriors will have an easier time with Minnesota than they had with Houston. Why? Because of defense. It doesn't mean that Minnesota won't win a couple of games. I think they will. I think the series will go at least 6 games. But I see the Warriors winning that. It wouldn't surprise me if the Warriors won Tuesday night, even though Minnesota has been sitting, waiting. They haven't played since, I believe, what? I don't know, midweek. Was that Friday night they won? Or Thursday? I don't remember. But when you're playing basketball and you're playing well in playoff type environments, you develop a rhythm, right? And the Warriors have that rhythm right now. The last thing they want to do is go and sit down for too many days. Well, maybe they'll fly to Minnesota tonight. I don't think so. I think they'll probably fly to Minnesota tomorrow morning, hopefully get some rest, maybe have a late shoot around, have a practice tomorrow night, early shoot around on Tuesday, and just get ready to play. Get all the treatment that they need, and just let it fly. That's the beauty of where the Warriors are right now. There's some interesting things happening. Spiritually, the team that gave the Warriors the most trouble, I believe, in the Western Conference is the Clippers. The Warriors needed Denver to get rid of the Clippers. Because I don't think that they wanted to see them. Now, if Denver beats OKC and the Warriors beat Minnesota, it doesn't matter. You have to play somebody good in the Western Conference Finals. So whomever you think is going to give you the toughest chance, it doesn't matter at that point. You're in the finals. But when I go back to the last game of the year, when the Warriors could have secured the 6th seed, theoretically, they could have beat the LA Lakers. I don't doubt that if they could have beat the Lakers. I think Houston was a better matchup, even though it went 7 games. Minnesota took care of LA in 5 games, which was, I think, more of an indictment against the LA Lakers than the prowess of the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are good, but the Lakers laid down. They did. They laid down. Maybe not consciously, but they didn't compete. When you lose in 5 games, you're not competing. You're not. Now, I think Ant-Man is the most talented 2-guard in the NBA. I'm never going to put anybody over Stephen Curry as long as he's playing. I'm not doing that. But he's a talented guy. GP2 didn't play tonight. I think he's going to be okay on Tuesday, ready to go. He plays against Anthony Edwards pretty well. That might mean that Kuminga doesn't play. Hopefully both of those guys are going to play, because I think you need both of them. This idea that the Warriors are going to outscore teams. Now, maybe against Minnesota, it's more of an offensive series. I can work myself through that. So what that means is that maybe you give Quentin Post more of an opportunity, because if he's making shots, then he's a unique player. But if he's not making shots, he's horrendous defensively. He really is. The same things they used to say about Kuminga and Moody a couple years ago, now they say them about Quentin Post. So Kerr's going to have to sit down or ponder what the objectives are for this particular series, because that might be the determining factor in whether or not certain guys play versus Minnesota, and maybe they don't. The one guy on Minnesota that kind of scares me a little bit is Julius Randle. Julius Randle, former Knick. I think he's a better player now than he was with the Knicks. And when he was on the Knicks, I think he might have made an all-star team. but I think he hunted shots more as a Knick. Now, he steps up when he needs to, but I don't think he's hunting as many shots. And, people make jokes about him not being able to use his right hand. Nothing's changed in that regard, but have you seen anybody stop that guy from going left? I haven't. The one thing that gives me comfort, if I'm a Warrior fan, is I can't imagine Rudy Gobert having another 27-point, 20-rebound game in his life, unless he's playing at the Y when he's retired or something like that. That was crazy. That was crazy that the Lakers allowed him to do that and basically put their lights out on their home court in 5 games. Off the heels of trading Anthony Davis. That's nuts. A stat I wrote down about the Houston Rockets. It speaks to the Warriors' defense. At the midway through the third quarter, the Houston Rockets were 2 for 8 from 3-point range. That was the game. If the Warriors don't take away Houston's outside shooting, they don't win that game. They don't. So while Steve Kerr gets most of the credit, and he should get it, he's the head coach, he gets most of the blame, Jerry Stackhouse runs the Warriors defense. At this stage of the game, it's not a singular effort. All people on board. So collectively, I'm sure they were in sync in terms of what they wanted to do defensively as a team. But it is Stackhouse's responsibility. And that's why the Warriors won. You hold the Rockets team to 39 points at halftime, you put a lot of doubt in the minds of those players. And, they had 50 in the second half, but they really didn't have 50. They probably had about 40. Because at the end, it was kind of garbage time, and Van Vliet came down and knocked down a couple of threes. The game was over. The game was absolutely over. Looking at some of the stats. Hodge played 40 minutes, was 4 for 12. He had a plus-minus of +5 at 9 points, 2 assists, 3 rebounds. I thought he played a good game. I thought he was solid. He's kind of a streaky offensive player. I said a couple of days ago, I think the Rockets didn't think he was very good. At some point, I think they believed that he sucked. But he didn't suck tonight. He played a good all-around game. That charge that he made against Sengun, when Houston was building momentum, was huge. That was a major play. It was funny, when I coach young kids and high school guys, now I'm coaching girls, we do charge drills. It's foreign. Like if you roll the ball out in the middle of the floor now and just tell players to go for it, they look at you like you're crazy, like you're an alien or something. Particularly with girls, I probably wouldn't do it with them. And I'm not disrespecting them, but as a coach now, because of concussions and because of so many other different things, you almost got to coach players differently because you don't want them to get hurt. And we have so much more information now about injuries and how that affects the brain, so on and so forth. But when I played high school basketball, if you didn't dive for loose balls, you got taken out. Even in college, dive for the ball. Take charges. I take 3-4 charges in some games. Do you know how debilitating it is for a player to take a charge? Any person listening right now, think about your career. I know we have any young people listening, but to me, it's equivalent to a block shot. Maybe even more important because you get to stop the clock and you get the ball back. Pods led the NBA in charges last year, and he was third this year. I don't care about shooting percentages when you're taking charges. And that's why he plays. That's why Kerr loves him. Because he makes winning plays. You know? I don't think Houston had a player take a charge. The Warriors did the little things. That's why they won tonight. And when I look at the matchup against Minnesota, I think Minnesota's in trouble. Because the Warriors' small ball lineup actually makes a lot of sense against Minnesota. Rudy Gobert's not capable of scoring 27 points. How did he do it against the Lakers? You know, they're going to go with Draymond, Jimmy Butler, certainly Buddy Hield at this point, Pods, and Stephen Curry. That's their lineup. That's what they're going to do. And Draymond Green's going to catch the ball at the free throw line, turn and face, and he's going to eat. That's what he's going to do. And if Minnesota's making some shots, then the Warriors will have to adjust. Now, they got one of my favorite players now on their team, and Dante DiVincenzo. I love Dante. Dante's not afraid. He's a champion too. He knows how to win. He's won. He's won an NBA championship. He's won multiple college championships. There's a couple of things about Minnesota that I think puts them in peril. They don't have a backup point guard. And Mike Conley Jr. should be a backup at this point. I got so much respect for that guy. 18 years getting an NBA check. And he actually made the dagger shot against the Lakers, you know, to send them home. Like corner three that he made from the right corner. But they don't have a backup point guard. They just don't. They have guys who can handle the ball, but they don't have a backup point guard. One mistake that I think Ime Udoka made, if I'm thinking about this now, I want to make this point. Why did he play Holiday? Every time Ime Udoka put Holiday in the game, which was rare in this series, he played great basketball. And tonight, Ime Udoka didn't use him. And the thing is, because Holiday can shoot, it takes the stress off of Van Vliet. But they didn't play Holiday tonight. That was bizarre. And it helped the Warriors because Jalen Green can't play half-court basketball. He just can't. Can't play in the half-court. And a lot of times, really talented players get to a point really quickly and they don't get any better. And that's a shame because he's such a young guy. His left hand is average to below average. You cannot be a two guard in the NBA and not be able to use both of your hands. He can't go left. Think about how many times Jalen Green takes one or two dribbles and then he goes airborne in the lane. That's not basketball. Why? Because the play has not happened yet. That's why you need your feet on the floor. Because when you dart to the lane, you have to react to the defense. You don't take a dribble to the left and then jump like you're Superman and try to do like a twisting shot. That just doesn't work. So the Warriors was not worried about Jalen Green. He had 38 points in game 2, and they turned his water off. And essentially, they turned Houston's water off. So, you know, Houston had a couple problems. They didn't play Holiday, and Jalen Green was pretty much a no-show. If I'm the Houston Rockets, with the draft capital that they have, I'm sending picks, Jabari Smith, Reed Shepard, and whomever else to make the money work. And I'm going hard for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant going back to OKC, kind of a nice little story. I don't see that happening. I don't. I think Houston is the place where Kevin Durant can really feel like it's even his team, like he's one of the guys. You know, if you got a lineup of Şengün, Dillon Brooks, Kevin Durant, Fred VanVleet, maybe they'll keep Jalen Green because Phoenix probably doesn't want him, you know, unless he's going to be a bench player. He doesn't want to be a bench player at 22. They got Devin Brooks. Jabari Smith and Reed Shepard would be perfect in Phoenix. You know, so keep your eye on that. With regards to the Golden State Warriors, the future is now. The future is now. I wrestled with acquiring Jimmy Butler and giving up the first round pick. I was wrong. This season is already a bona fide success. Already. And the Warriors are not finished. In many respects, they're just starting. They're just beginning. Think about it. They went from maybe not even making the playoffs, not even making the play-in, to being a play-in team, right? Becoming the 7th seed, and then being the 2 seed. Now, everybody who said, well, Houston is the number 2 seed, they should, what? Stop looking at the stats and look at the teams. I'm not a bettor. I don't necessarily have anything against gambling. Maybe I would if I knew how to do it. Because I can manage myself. I'm not going to go crazy. But when I look at the Houston Rockets and I look at the Golden State Warriors, if I was going to make a bet, I was not betting on Houston. Even though it went 7 games. And I thought the Warriors would beat them in 6. But I'm not betting against Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler. Maybe I'm delusional, but I would have been delusional. Now, did I see the Buddy Hield experience coming? No, I did not see that. I didn't see that. That's equivalent to like some no-name local cover band all of a sudden getting a phone call and saying, you know what? Maroon 5 can't make it on Friday night. Can you take their place at Coachella? That was the Buddy Hield experience tonight. Literally, they might do a 30 for 30 on that cat. He's been traded. This is 15. 5 teams. When you are on 5 teams in 9 years, the conclusion is you have talent, but you ain't gonna work here. And I will even contend this. Buddy Hield signed a 4-year, $32 million deal, which meant at the trade deadline, the Warriors could not move him, even if they wanted to move him. And why wouldn't they want to move anybody except their core guys? They couldn't move him. So, again, you got to give Kerr credit. Kerr was like, you know what? I got to get something out of this guy. We're paying him $8 million a year. The money's guaranteed. We got to get something out of Buddy Hield. Either as a starter or coming off the bench. You know, we have to play this guy. And there were some real clear outcomes when you look at the stats. Buddy Hield plays a lot better. I I don't know, is it on the road or at home? But there is a major disparity between playing on the road and playing at home. But he showed up big tonight. And the thing about Buddy Hield too, and I can say this about Stephen Curry as well, those guys played tremendous defense tonight. Past year, I'm going to say past year 3 or 4, Stephen Curry has been fairly solid. There were some years, where he played, maybe years from like 8 through 10, he played phenomenal defense, maybe 7 through 10. He slowed down. But don't question that guy's pride. That guy is so freaking prideful. And he doesn't want to let his team down. So he went out there and played hellified defense tonight. And he also was very physical. He set the tone. He had, 10 rebounds? He had 7 rebounds in the first half. Outstanding. So what do you think about Tuesday night? Are you mere bag of shells? The Warriors going to beat Minnesota? Do you think it's going to be tough because they're going to be tired? Do you have any thoughts about Tuesday night's game? I tend to be an optimist because, for teams that I'm supporting, because I see them in the most positive light doing things the right way. And I think it's really about execution. That's what it's about. It isn't about lucky shots and if the temperature is 73 degrees and the wind chill is and the wind is 8 miles. No, it's not about that. It's about execution. That's what it's about. So I like the Warriors' chances, particularly if Kerr continues to play guys off the bench and he allows his starters to get some rest. I think they can win this series. I'm going to talk about my Knicks in a minute as well, because all of this, I can't beat Boston, we might lose to Detroit crap. I'm like, wait a minute. This is one of the most talented Knicks teams that we've had in a long time. And thank God they did what they were supposed to do, because Detroit matched their effort. But the Knicks were just a better team. They had better players. And they won. Vicky says, that's why I get mad at Post. If Steph can play defense, why can't Post? Warriors in 6. I agree with you, Vicky. The thing about Post that concerns me, and I think it concerns his teammates, is his attitude. You would think this dude is doing like a Broadway play or something. The theatrics have to go. He's one of the oldest rookies in the NBA, probably the oldest. He's 25 years old. These referees are highly skilled, highly paid, and they have a lot of experience, and they don't want to see players on the court crying. It pisses them off. They don't want to see it. Which is why Jimmy Butler will give him kind of a look, but Jimmy Butler does not complain. That's why the referees respect him so much. That's why they call fouls, because he does not complain. I want to see Quinn Post make it. I really do. But that dude got to live in the weight room, and he got to understand that body language, poor body language, that's a cancer. Particularly when you got a guy like Draymond Green, who's 6'6 and a half, 6'7", getting brutalized by 7-footers, playing his ass off, and you're 7'1". I want to see a difference. When you get on the court, I want to just be physical, dude. If you're making shots, fine, but that is not your ATM card, your three-point shot. It's not. Be an all-around player. Moses Moody has games where he misses shots, but he still gets on the court now because he can play. Glenn Doches, how about them Pacers? Yo, they good, dude. Sigh and call, sigh and call melting down. Are they really? Well, let me say this. I was fortunate enough. I get invited on a lot of shows. Not a lot of shows. I get invited to go on other people's shows, the ones I like to go on. But the people that support me on Sunday nights, come on, man. I have to do this show. And, they got thousands and thousands of listeners, which is fantastic. But I was showing up here because it's important that I do so, because you guys support me so much. And it's one thing to be able to kind of put your thoughts in the comment section and have them never be read. That's the gift and the curse. Obviously, that means you have a lot of success, you have a lot of support. But sometimes as a listener and as a supporter, you can feel like you're in the background. That's not the case of this show. If you want to be heard on my show, and you're probably going to be heard. So that's a good thing. I like that. Draymond got another tech tonight. One more, and he will be suspended. Yeah, I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion, but again, if I was a betting person, I wouldn't bet that he wouldn't get a technical. I mean, there's a lot of basketball left. Think about this. There are potentially 3 more 7-game series. 21 more games and Draymond's not going to get another tech? Good luck with that one. As for the Indiana Pacers, you better ask somebody, because they're good. They have the best pace in the NBA. They run the ball down your throats. And they have the athletes to play that style of basketball. They do. They are good. And they got a Hall of Fame championship coach in Rick Carlisle. And Halliburton's game is unorthodox, kind of fluky at times. He puts numbers up, man. He really does. Now, am I surprised that Indiana beat Cleveland? No, I'm not surprised by that. Cleveland is kind of a highlight factory. They're not a good half-court team. Now, Garland didn't play today. It's fool's gold when Ty Jerome scores 20 points and has 8 assists. Now, when Ty Jerome was on a 2-way deal as a member of the Warriors, nobody campaigned harder for that guy than me. Nobody. Every time somebody said that he sucked, I was like, dude, no, he does not suck. He's a good player. But I think he's feeling himself a little bit now. I mean, it's fool's gold for Ty Jerome to take that many shots. You got to get your big guys involved. If Mobley and Allen are not integral in their offense, Cleveland's in trouble. They're already in trouble. But I just thought they got outcoached. And the players kind of, fell for the booby trap. You go to the carnival and they say, well, you can take 2 prizes. You can choose among 3 prizes. They chose the wrong prize. Ty Jerome scoring 20 points and having 8 assists, being one of the guys on offense, that's not going to do it. Vicky says, talk about Popovich. True legend. And not because he was simply a great basketball coach. Popovich, and I don't want to regale him like he's dead. He's not dead. Hopefully he's going to be around for many, many, many years to come. But when I think of Coach Popovich, I think of a guy who is an advocate of human and civil rights. He's a leader among men, and he's created a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. His awareness is something that I marvel at, because everybody's not like that. You know, there are a lot of me people in the world. It's all about me. I did it myself. I didn't get any help. It's just me. Long as I'm doing well, I'm not overly concerned about anybody else. Think about how many head coaches Greg Popovich has created opportunities for. A former teammate of mine, good friend of mine. Well, I mean, we're friends and we were teammates. I don't want to make it bigger than what it is, but we are cool. Is Dell Demps. Dell Demps and I played basketball together in Pro-Ams. We actually won a championship together. And Dell Demps went to Pacific University, was kind of a marginal pro, played with the Warriors. I believe Popovich might have been an assistant when Dell Demps made that team. Got a couple of years in San Antonio because of that relationship. Moved into the front office, became a general manager, and now is doing quite well in Minnesota as a part of their brain trust. So I know some of the things behind the scenes that Greg Popovich has done for people. I love that, man. I mean, the sports part of it, the games, it's only important when you're doing it. It's not important when you're not doing it. When you're not playing, then, you know, what are you doing to make the world better? Popovich is one of the few people who has spoke about real issues in our society that need to be spoken about, that a lot of other people are hesitant to do. Granted, he's an older gentleman, has a lot of weight and authority and a lot of success. So maybe he I'm sure he felt more comfortable, but that doesn't mean he had to do it. I'm a big Greg Popovich fan. I remember when Greg Popovich, I should see him and Don Nelson Jr. sometimes. They used to eat at this cheesesteak spot in Oakland. And I would see him from time to time. And nice guy, man. Always very, very cordial. And he obviously grew into a legend. But I remember when he wasn't a legend, when he was just assistant coach with the Warriors. And hopefully he's going to be a fixture in that organization for a long period of time. But he's passing the torch, and that's great to see. Glenn Dosha says, Kings lost Halliburton and Fox. It's so hard being a Kings fan. Yeah, I mean, I get it, man. I'm fortunate that I covered the Kings when they were really good. When they were really good. When they had probably one of the worst arenas in the NBA, Arco, and one of the best teams in the NBA. So talk about that dichotomy there. Fun fact. Did you know that Arco, I believe I heard that Arco was built for $30 million. Does that seem right? That can't be right. It didn't take a lot but somebody look that up for me. Because I feel sorry for Kings fans. TG says, "Sup, Frank? What's up, brother? I assume you're a brother. What's up? How you doing?" I'm having fun, man. We're talking about the Warriors. I gave them a 50-50 chance of winning. So it wasn't like it was in the bag, but I knew if they executed, they could win this game. You know? Was not surprised by it. If you got one guy on Houston making 3-point shots. Fred VanVleet, who's 5'11", 6 feet. You can't turn his water off? Come on, man. Los D, what's good, Red? Potts needs to perfect that floater in the lane. He does. You know what he needs to do, Los? He needs to, after they knock off the Minnesota Timberwolves, he needs to consult Mike Conley Jr. and say, yo, can you teach me how to shoot your floater? Imagine if Potts gets a floater with his right hand, because he doesn't go right at all. If he could somehow develop a left hand and a right hand floater, because he's never going to be a real skilled offensive player. I just don't see it. What I see is a guy who does all the little things, makes all the hustle plays. I think he'll become a better open shooter to keep defensive honest. In the second half of this year, he made great strides in that area. And he's also become better at kind of putting the ball on the deck a couple of times, contorting his left shoulder and squaring up to the basket. He can make that shot. He made a tough mid-baseline shot tonight when the Warriors were struggling a little bit. So, you know, the thing about Pods is what Draymond Green said. He has irrational confidence. And I'd rather have irrational confidence than no confidence at all. You know, it's going to get Pods paid really, really well. Could be happy for the guy. Los D says, exactly. Wardell Curry on the floor. That shot is there every time. I like his IQ for the game. Now, he's smart, man. Very smart player. I identify with it. That's why he's on the court. Kerr has said as much, but when you watch him play, you can tell he knows the game. My thing is, play fair with the referees. Stop complaining, because they're going to lose respect for you. And they might have lost a little bit. He's regained it because he makes plays. But model how Jimmy Butler plays. Even Stephen Curry. I mean, think about this. Stephen Curry at the tail end. If you want to well, I'm not a Stephen Curry fan. He's one of the, top 20 players in the history of basketball? If you are a major fan, then he's top 10 to maybe even more than that. And he does not complain a lot. Does not. TJ, Frank, prediction on Warriors and Wolves. I got the Warriors in 6. For the reason that I stated, Minnesota does not have a backup point guard. Dante can bring the ball up and kind of lead the offense, but he's not a backup point guard. He's not. So the Warriors are so smart defensively that Minnesota's going to have to make shots. I don't see them making enough shots. I also see the Warriors taking one of the key core strengths of Minnesota's defense away, which is essentially Gobert playing drop coverage, playing close to the basket, which means that Draymond's going to be able to run the Warriors offense stress-free. So, and Ant-Man really surprised me. I mean, going 0 for 11 from 3 against the Lakers, maybe that was an aberration, but that surprised me. Nobody that good should go 0 for 11 from 3. He had 15 points. If he don't average 20 points against the Warriors, they can't win. They cannot win. Now, I'm not saying that the Warriors will hold him to under 20, but if he has 15 against the Warriors, they're not winning that game. You know that. Columbus Banner, what is up? Glory be to God. Yes, sir. Great team win by the Warriors. Our players are connected and focused. Yes, they are. Strength in numbers. We need 12 more wins in the playoffs Let's go Warriors. Team Stephen Curry, Team Jesus. I'm not mad at you. Well spoken. Welcome to the program, Columbus. Appreciate you. Los D, if I'm Houston, I get 2 scorers somehow, and they'll be real scary. KD may be in a trade. I mean, they got to go running, you know? And the thing is, Stone is their general manager. I can't think of Stone's first name right now, but he has done a bang-up job. They got picks, and they got talent. Jabari Smith looks like a potential 20-point scorer to me. Reed Shepherd, I like Reed Shepherd, man. I think the only thing Reed Shepherd did wrong was get drafted by Houston. I think if he was on another team, he would be shining. The Phoenix Suns are not going to be very good anytime soon. Their owner, their fans can forget it. They're not going to be very good. They can be fun to watch. If you got Reed Shepherd starting at the point, Devin Booker, Jabari Smith, you know, throw in 2 other guys, and you got a fun young team that just needs minutes. You know, they'll be cheap. They won't be real expensive like their teams are now. They got to do a buyout with Brad Beal, maybe try to trade him. The Warriors would love to have Brad Beal. If Phoenix bought out Brad Beal, imagine that. Just saying, yo, dude, you're not good for our program. We're not saying you're a bad guy, but we want to cut ties. We want to amnesty your contract. We're just going to cut you. The Warriors would love to sign Brad Beal on a mid-level contract. Imagine bringing Brad Beal off your bench. All of these woe is me, Warriors are doomed stories will probably go away because I think Stephen is playing 3 more years. I do. I think next year, it wouldn't surprise me if he signs another 1-year extension to get him to 40, and Draymond Green signs another extension to get him to the same timeline that Stephen and Jimmy Butler has. You know, the future is now, man. I mean, like when people talk about, quote, the future, looking into the future is now. You don't know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. You know, when you look at the Warriors from a business perspective, think about this. That's at least 3 more home playoff games as the number 1 draw in the NBA. They're definitely top 3. Who are the top 3 draws in the NBA? The Warriors, the Knicks in Boston, and what? Maybe OKC because they have the best record. But definitely that Knicks in Boston series is box office. This Warrior-Minnesota series, I would love to be selling ad space for those particular games. You know? There's a reason why the NBA just signed a $75 billion contract. That content is crazy. That Denver Clippers series, never in my life did I think that I would be riveted by watching Denver and the Clippers in the playoff series, but that was awesome until it wasn't. Thank you, Columbus. Appreciate you. My man Keys says, what's up, Frank? What a team win. I thought Buddy and our Zone D won that game. Definitely, you know, Buddy had his moment. You know, as a rapper, you guys know I'm a rapper, right? You guys listen to my music? I'm not one of these like, oh, I rap. No. I make excellent music. Some of y'all probably don't even know that I make music because I don't promote it like that. But yeah, man, go look up Frank Red on Spotify and all these all of these content providers, YouTube, and I only bring that up because I think I'm thinking about Buddy right now. And there's a couple of rap songs that when I really want to get hyped up, when I'm really like in my bag and I'm focused, I listen to Eminem, Lose Yourself, DJ Drama, Waiting for My Moment, Nas, One Mic. Those songs just like really pump me up, man. If the Warriors can pull this off, what a story it will make. Box office. Vicky says, you should promote your music. I know, I should. I got too many things going on, Vicky. I make music because I love it, man. I love it. And I own my music also. I own it all. So, you know, it's awesome. It's awesome to be an owner and know that what you're doing is of quality, because it'll come around, you know, it'll come around. Maybe I'll be a part of some independent movie project at some point. Maybe I'll talk to someone and say, well, I need some music. Yo, use some of my music. Check some of my songs out. I'm actually, I think, on the cusp of releasing 3 songs this summer. 3 songs. My first, Coach. Can You Feel Me? And another song is called The Girl I Love, which is kind of dope. So, yeah, you know, the strangest thing too, this blew me away. I got 4 songs on YouTube. I got some on some other places. But I just kind of like chat GPT myself, right? And just to like see what they said about my music. And the crazy thing is, when they wrote this little blurb about each song that I've done, it was spot on. Now, I don't know if they have some service who was critiquing the songs or whatever, but I was really surprised how accurate the description of me as an artist and the song that I had written was. Pretty scary stuff, man. Vicky says, it's great music. Can't wait. Appreciate you. And Keith says, I was amazed watching the Cavs game. That Ty Jerome got 20 shots and Mobley only got 13, even though Mobley was on. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I like Ty Jerome. But if Ty Jerome was on the Warriors, he'd have a problem right now. If he was on one of those 90s Knicks teams, he would have a problem. Or the Celtics with Larry. I mean, come on, man. That's on the coach, though. As a coach, you got to rein people in. You know, and I understand Garland didn't play and all that crap, but Eric Mobley is an all-star. He's the reason why you have the record that you have. You know? He's the best all-around player on the team. I mean, I think he's more important than Donovan Mitchell. As good as Donovan Mitchell is, if you put Eric Mobley on the market, are you kidding me right now? So that was a miss. That was a definite miss by Cleveland. And the Indiana Pacers played extremely well. But I saw players taking wide open shots. That can't happen. That cannot happen. Jay Williams. You know what's interesting about Jay Williams on ESPN now? I don't think that video, I guess you can watch whole games and stuff to get a sense of how good a player. He was Jason Williams when he was in college. Now he's Jay Williams. But Jay Williams was so good as a basketball player. as a college player, one of the best players in Duke history, won a national championship. That dude was the real deal. And unfortunately, he got on a motorcycle, got into an accident, and his career was over. I think he was drafted maybe second, third, or fourth overall by the Bulls. And, you know, for 5 years, it felt like he wouldn't even admit that it was a bad decision to get on a motorcycle. And he actually wrote a book. I read like the first 100 pages of his book. But smart guy, has a lot of opinions. Makes a lot of statements. One of the things that he recently said was something to the effect, Jalen Brunson was the best Knick guard of all time. I was like, I love Jalen Brunson, but slow down. The best guard in the history of the Knicks is Walt Clyde Frazier, who still works for the Knicks. Now, if you're going by stats, which I don't, Jalen Brunson has averaged 30 points a game in the playoffs, right? But he has no championships. The last time the Knicks won a championship, Walt Clyde Frazier was the point guard. So, you know, I think sometimes you can be hyperbolic, maybe a little uninformed. You get hyped up in the moment. Taking nothing away from Jalen Brunson. I love Jalen Brunson. He's awesome. But I cannot put him above Walt Clyde Frazier. Can't do that. That's disrespectful. That's like the linebacker from Penn State asking if he can get LT's number 56. What? You got to do some research, homeboy. Research. That's like somebody going to the Cleveland Browns and saying, "Can I wear number 32?" What? Oh yeah, I think there's a Jim Brown guy used to wear that number. You know, can I wear 32? No, absolutely not. On the Giants, can I have number 56? I wore that when I played high school football. No. Don't ask that question again. Do you believe Kuminga can get some play in the next series? I think he's our best option defending Edwards. I hope so. Kerr really impressed me tonight because he went against his tendencies. You know, he didn't want to play Kuminga, but he put him in the game. And I think by doing that, you don't lose a player. You know what I'm saying? It's like you never want to lose a player. And like the average fan who may not be able to look at the game in a, you know, in a meticulous way, would look at Kuminga's performance tonight and go, he was terrible. No, he was not terrible. He was a -4, plus minus. He played 7 minutes. He was in the right spots defensively. Offensively, he was unbalanced. Made a real nice move to the basket to start off, and he misses a left-hand layup. You can't do that. Take advantage of your opportunities. But as a coach, right, as a coach, I'm always going to have a defensive mindset against really good players. Always. And Kuminga defensively makes the Warriors better. And I would agree with you. Kuminga, GP2, those are the players that are most equipped to give Ant-Man some problems. Are you going to stop Ant-Man? I don't think so. But I definitely think Kuminga, at this point defensively, and Moody too. Let's throw Moody in there. Moody plays hell of a lot defense. Guy Santos is an aggressive defender, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He makes a lot of mistakes. Vicky says, going to the San Francisco Giants. Going to the San Francisco Giants and ask for 24. Right. I mean, are you punch drunk? Right? You got to be punch drunk. Oh, yeah. I played center field on my JV high school team, and my mom told me I looked good at number 24. You think the Giants? I know I'm up from A ball. Can I have 24? Don't ever repeat that again. Never in your life. What's your prediction for Knicks series? Towns needs to do more. Because I don't want to sound like a complete homer, I'm going to say Boston in 6. Right? Now, do I think the Knicks can beat Boston? Yes, I do. But you just mentioned Towns. It's hard for me to get completely on board with big guys who lean offense. Because that's not how you win. That's not how you win. Cat Towns needs to say, you know what? I'm going to dominate my opponent. If that's Porzingis, whomever it is, I'm going to dominate that guy. And I'm not going to give up 28 and I score 22. No, that's a -6. That's probably how you're going to lose. Jalen Brunson dominates his matchups. Pisses me off. Because this Knicks team is good enough to win a championship. It shouldn't be losing to Boston. It could be Boston. Vicky says, I still think the Knicks don't have a guy. The Warriors have a guy. Yeah, the Warriors do have a guy. Yeah, you know what? And I'm going to challenge you again, Vicky. The precedent has already been set. The Detroit Pistons won a championship. They went to multiple finals without having a, quote, guy. They had tough players. They had, Tayshaun Prince, right? All defense. Mr. Big Shot, all defense. Rasheed Wallace, all defense. Rip Hamilton, good defender. That's what you need. That's why, realistically, the Warriors can win a championship this year. As bizarre as that might sound to some people, I'm telling you, this team could win a championship. Why? Because they're really good defensively. And they're the smallest team. Why are they good defensively? Because they don't make mistakes. Because they don't make a lot of mistakes. Columbus says, Looney and JK set the tone on the defensive end. They brought physicality on the bigs for the Rockets. The double bigs were not effective because of Looney and JK over Quentin Post tonight. The bench is okay. Columbus, I'm going to say this. Thank you for adding to the program because you clearly know basketball. Clearly. That's why when you look at fans, you hear people talk, oh, Kuminga. No, you watching basketball, right? You see this guy in position to make plays. Forget about offense. It's good. Offense is timing. Defense is IQ, engagement, right? Playing your keys like you're playing. I play defensive lineman. I play defensive end. And you need to play your keys. If you don't play your keys and you're playing defense, you get your ass kicked. Defense in basketball, if you're out there guessing, lunging, fouling perimeter shooters, you're going to be on the bench. I see a guy in Jonathan Kuminga who Kerr can use strategically to help this team win. And Looney was fantastic. I totally agree. The plot changes. In today's NBA, you need a guy. Okay. Towns needs to dominate the bigs for Boston. It's time for him to step up. I agree with you. And all the people in New York agree with you. We all identify with toughness. We do. That's playoff basketball. Now, you or I don't have as much access to ratings of the NBA, but they come out, we hear about it. I guarantee you these ratings are really, really high. Why? Because these are dog fights, man. Particularly in the Western Conference. These are dog fights. And I believe the Warriors won in spite of Buddy Hield going crazy and Stephen Curry doing what he needs to do at the end of the games. The Warriors were the more physical team tonight. That was evident. They were more physical. And that's why they won. They set the tune. They had Şengün throwing up garbage. You know, guys fading away. Dillon Brooks was a mess. You know, and it was the physicality. That's okay, but I do not want to see football, basketball. There's levels to this. I agree with you, but there's levels to this. I love the way that the game was officiated tonight between the Warriors and Houston. Wasn't a lot of free throws. Was not a lot of free throws at all. Now, when it was egregious, then guys went to the line. But, you know, minimal contact, no, the referees were not calling that. They were not calling that. And I love that. Loved it. And guess what? I think we're going to see more of that because that's what the fans want to see. They want to see a different level of basketball. You know? Even the Lakers were not a physical team. They got roughed up by Minnesota. Roughed up. Pretty sad. If you're a Laker fan. Now, I was doing a little intel today. Guess who I think is going to be the Lakers center next year? Miles Turner. Miles Turner is going to be a free agent, and he's had this, you know, this on-again, off-again love affair with the Indiana Pacers, and he's finally grown to the point where when he says how much money he wants, people don't laugh anymore because he's that guy. Miles Turner is a very good NBA player, good all-around player. Brings a lot to the table, and allegedly he wants to be paid in the $30 million range. In today's NBA, I don't think that's a problem. Going on the premise that LeBron comes back, and maybe LeBron would take a little less. Who knows? If LeBron is making, I don't know if they have union rules. No, I guess he could take less if he wants. If LeBron is slated to make $55 million and he takes $45 million and they get rid of a couple more contracts, then maybe they can afford Miles Turner. Because I don't think he's going to stay in Indiana. I just don't think he is. I think he's going to be on the Lakers next year. And if you got a front line of Miles Turner, LeBron for one more year, Luka, Reeves, you know, they won 50 games this year. You know, you might have something. Columbus says, Miles Turner is a very talented player on both ends of the court. Yes, he is. Vicky says, I wish Turner could become a Warrior. He would be a major upgrade, I tell you that. He actually had a great game against the Warriors this year. Yeah, I mean, again, the NBA is ascending, which is amazing. Their younger guys are starting to emerge while their old guys are not just old guys, they're still really, really good players. The next exciting thing for me was a couple of things. I want to see the draft order. Where's Cooper Flag going to go? I don't want him in Utah. That's just me. I'm sorry, Utah fans are like, Red, we hate you. If he goes to Utah, okay. I'm not going to have a tissy foot about it. You know, that's just not the number one location that I would like to see him in as a basketball fan. Chicago, Philly, you know. But I think there's a good chance he's going to be in Utah. And that's going to be good for the cash registers, the owner, the ATM machine. It's going to slow down his progress because he's not going to have as many good players around him. That's just how it is. So the draft order is something I'm interested in seeing. And I'm ready for Adam Silver to step it up and start talking about expansion. Because we know where they're going to expand. They're going to expand in Las Vegas and Seattle. Now, allegedly, two people who are interested in buying an NBA team and apparently going to push pretty darn hard are LeBron and Shaq. Both have the resources to make it happen. The idea of a very young person like a Shaq or a LeBron having 50% ownership, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that what you're looking at is majority ownership. And, I'm not a trader. I'm not a venture capitalist, but I do follow the market a little bit. It can happen with an LBO. Okay, it can happen. It can happen with an LBO. There's enough money out there, and people who want to be associated with NBA organizations that they would gladly step up and put a significant amount of money up to be part of the ownership group. Only thing doubt. Vicky says that Turner could teach Post how to be a center. Yeah. Columbus says, we do need some more NBA teams. We do. Because then you can move Minnesota to the East Coast. There's no reason why Minnesota should be a Western Conference team. And Memphis either. Memphis would go to the East Coast, and Minnesota would go to the East Coast. To get to New York from Minnesota, it's 2 hours. Think about that. It's 2 hours to go from Minneapolis to New York. I never told you about, well, I did. I haven't told my Prince story in a long time. This is during the days when, private jets wasn't a thing. I was a salesman, right? And I had a sales meeting somewhere. So I'm going back to New York, for the weekend to see my mom or something like that. So I reroute my flight, and a nice stewardess upgrades me to first class. It might have been the first time I've ever been to first class. So I'm in 2A. And all of a sudden, I was sleeping a little bit and I woke up and we're getting ready to take off. All of a sudden, one more passenger gets on. They got straight hair, very petite. And one person gets in the first row seat on the opposite side. And then this very slick, petite person gets on the first row in 1A or something like that. And I'm in 2A. I've never seen flight attendants lose their you-know-what more than they did on that day. I mean, they're handing out coffee, spilling the coffee on themselves. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I still couldn't see the person. So, we take off. about 10, 15 minutes after that, the person in front of me leans over to the person sitting in like 1B holding like a backpack. And he kind of points to him. I'm thinking it's a fine woman. That's what I thought was like some beautiful woman because her hair was all slicked back. And he hands the person in front of me an apple, a small little apple. That person was Prince, right? So I had a layover at Minneapolis, and Prince gets off because Prince was doing Saturday Night Live on Saturday night. And this is a Friday. Think about that for a second. No private jets. Bands were flying in, be it first class, but on commercial airlines. That's how far we've come. Can you imagine Prince flying on a commercial flight? R.I.P. Wish he was still here. But that's my Prince story. I actually rode on a plane with Prince. And I sat behind him. So I got a lot of stories, y'all. You guys know that. Vicky said Magic is also interested. Now, who do you think they should give a team to? Seattle is going to be given to some rich tech person from that area. No athletes get the Seattle franchise. You might be a part of the ownership group. I can see that happening. Maybe Gary Payton, give him a little bit. Whatever bit you get, it's a good bit to be a part of an NBA ownership group. But majority owner, I can't see that. Now, the Vegas team, I think, is in play. I don't know who is going to get it, but I think a former player could get the Vegas franchise. And that's going to be, talk about a drop-dead battle. That's going to be a battle for that franchise. It really is. So, Key says, does Denver have a chance against OKC? Seems like they have all the pieces. I think Denver's winning that series. I think they're winning. And I see Denver in 6. Denver's front court is formidable. And Michael Porter Jr. is ascending. I didn't think that I would be able to say that about him, but he is ascending. He's playing good basketball. Their guards, Jamal Murray is playing as well as he's played in 3-4 years. They're beating OKC. The only SGA, until he learns how to catch and shoot, and he's better this year, he's made some strides, but that's really not in his toolbox. His usage rate is too high. It's too high. I don't believe in the dorks of the world. They got good players. Don't get me wrong. And they're going to make a lot of Western Conference finals. Maybe they'll win the championship. It's not this year. They're not winning the championship this year. They're just not. I think coming out of the West, I'm going to say it's going to be Denver or the Warriors. Not Minnesota and not OKC. But that's why they play the games, right? Boston is the likely favorite to come out of the East. Although I think if the Knicks want to rewrite history, they can win. I respect the hell out of Indiana. They're well coached and they're good. And they could beat Cleveland. But both of those teams, to me, are missing something. Half-court execution, I just don't think it's great. I don't. Indiana they have the best pace in the NBA, though. They go up and down. And I would say it's Halliburton is the guy who he doesn't scare me. He's he puts up good numbers. But half-court execution, I think, is going to be a challenge for Indiana as they start to move up the ladder. That's what I think. All right. We've spent 90 minutes talking about sports, something that we love or we like. It's a nice diversion. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully you felt my love by holding true and doing this show when I have been invited to be on some other shows, but I'm never not going to do the In the Dungeon show on Sunday nights. Any movies? Yeah. I saw a movie called Warfare. And Warfare is a movie about the Iraq War. It took place in 2006. And the entire movie is basically from the memories of two soldiers. And it is riveting. An hour and 35 minutes, hour and 40 minutes. It ain't nothing to play with. Just like war isn't anything to play with. This battalion, this group gets caught in a bad place and literally had to do everything they could do to try to save their lives. And I'll just leave it at that. If you like riveting filmmaking, a lot of action, I mean, you know what it's about. So, you know, I mean, the plot kind of smacks you in the face, but the subplots is what really galvanizes you and holds your attention throughout the movie. And that's another thing about it I like is that it's only an hour and 40 minutes. So Warfare, if you like war movies, if you like entertainment mixed with realism, then maybe you'll like this movie. All right. Maybe I'll jump on throughout the week. I'm not quite sure. The Warriors take on Minnesota on Tuesday night. You never know where I might step in, maybe on this particular program or somewhere else. I have not seen the number of likes and subscribers for this particular show. Hopefully you've hit the like button. We're getting better, but help a brother out. Hit the like button if you like the show. And also subscribe. Also subscribe to the show. I'm going to hold myself to it. I'm well off 1,000 subscribers, but I'm not going to have a guest until I get 1,000. I'm going to hold true to that. All right? I'm going to do my thing and get out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight, and I appreciate you so much. Vicky said I hit the like button. Thank you. I appreciate you. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. And I want to send prayers and condolences out to one of my role models. I got wind that one of my former coaches has passed. The gentleman's name is Howie Evans. He coached me at Fordham University, was one of the people who actually recruited me and made sure that I was okay as a young freshman at Fordham, as a 17-year-old away from home for the first time. Howie Evans was a head coach at the D1 level, Maryland Eastern Shore. He was a head coach, but he also was a tremendous reporter for the Amsterdam News. Might have been an editor as well, but Howie Evans was one of the first Black reporters to cover major sports teams, i.e. the Knicks and maybe some other teams in New York as well. A dignified and classy man and a tremendous role model for me. Again, made his name as a reporter for the Amsterdam News, was one of the historic Black newspapers in the nation during that particular time. And he has passed away. I want to send my prayers and condolences out to him and his family and just say thank you. Thank you, because you had an impact on my life. And I try to carry on those messages and lessons that you taught me. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me. And my name is Frank Red. Follow me at Big Frank Red on X. Hit the like button and subscribe to the In the Dungeon show. Good night, everybody. Peace.